Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump, and I thank you for your comments and your emails. They're greatly appreciated. By the way, someone pointed out that that painting up there is a painting of a tree stump, and they said they finally got it as to why I bought it and why it's hanging there. Very true. I went to um, an art exhibit sort of a thing over at a community center in a local area. And all the local artists, well, a great number of local artists had come and hung up all their paintings and like that. And I went to support a friend of mine who had many paintings for sale. When I saw that one, I said, that's mine. I have to have that. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's a tree stump, but there's a hole in the side of it, and there's a squirrel putting its head out the hole. And that's perfect because back in those days, I used to tell stories, and I told a story about Simon, who was saving nuts for winter and like that, and he would tell stories in order to get the group through a cold winter. So that painting was perfect for me, complete with frame too, by the way. Nice frame, really reasonable price. I don't spend a lot of money on art, but I was going to buy that one, right? Had to be mine. But that's not what I wanted to talk about right now. I want to talk about the trouble of intimacy. Apparently, one of the greatest difficulties with intimacy is that you have to ask for it. I talk to couples all the time, and couples have a wide range of behavior patterns they indulge in. I've talked to people who have sex at least twice a week, if not more, and people who have sex every 2 weeks, which is once upon a time they said that was about the average for married couples after they've been married for a great while, right? Once every 2 weeks. So people having sex 2 times or more every week, I thought that was a marvelous thing. We're not talking about young people. We're talking about people passing middle age, right? They're still doing this. And one couple I talked to about that, and they said they made that promise to each other when they got married. And the idea was to keep them close, to keep them involved with one another and engaged. So apparently they'd have sex whether they needed it or not, but it seemed to work for their relationship, right? But for most people I talk to, it's apparently really, really difficult to ask your husband or your wife to have sex. And I just think that's the craziest thing. For married people can't talk about sex, even though they've got kids, right? And I wonder what the barrier is. So I'm going to throw that out to all of you. How do you ask for intimacy? How do you engage in it? I mean, by that, how do you get your partner to be interested in the idea and like that? And do you enjoy it? A lot of people tell me, got used to it. It's like the same old, same old. Nothing wrong with it, nothing great. So, how is it for you folks out there? They say that when a relationship is breaking up, intimacy is the last thing to go, right? So often when I'm talking to folks about their relationship, I don't ask them about the details of what they do in lovemaking, but I just ask them about the quality. I say to you people, the two of you make love often, and how is it for you like that? Most of them say it's just bland, it's pretty routine, not very interesting. We talk about ways to spice it up, you know, and some things can rub some people the wrong way, you know. Somebody wants to get into role playing. It's not a question of wanting to be somebody else. It's just a question of putting a spark back into intimacy. It seems like that spark goes away. Now, I was talking about this with several couples, but in the last couple of weeks, I've talked to a couple of couples, and they said I was talking to a wife. I'm speaking to her husband, right? That's who I'm talking with. But I always ask to talk to the partner because it gives me a fuller understanding of a relationship and what's going on. And I tell the person I'm talking to, the reason I want to talk to your partner is because I want to find out what that person thinks you and I should be talking about. And I also want to get a sense of the partner. Oftentimes, I'm talking to gentlemen, I'm talking to husbands, so I ask to speak to their wives just to see what I get, what sort of vibration or sort of a take I get on the wife, and how that might be affecting the relationship and the intimacy and so forth. Um, but this one couple was telling me that before they got married, sex was great, right? And I asked him about it. Like I said, I don't really want to know the details. I don't think it's necessary, but give me some idea of it. And apparently, they were having sex in a lot of unusual places because at the time before they got married, they were living with their parents. He was living with his parents and she was living with hers, and there was never any time. Neither one of them had a place they could go to. There was never any time where they could be alone. So they would manufacture odd places and situations in which they could be intimate. And the wife told me it was great. It was wonderful back back in that time, in those circumstances. But after they got married and they got their own place, um, their love making just sort of fell off. She said, my husband's just not interested anymore. We were talking about it. I said, do you suppose the excitement's gone? I mean, because what you're describing earlier, it's like you could get caught, you could be discovered, so that gave it an element of excitement. And she said, yeah, I think maybe the excitement's gone. That's what happened to it. It's fallen off. And she was telling me, I'll be lucky if I have sex every 2 or 3 months once. She said, he's just not interested. He's not into it. And I talked to him, separately. And he said, yeah, he was interested in sex and he hadn't lost his sex drive and etc. But he just wasn't attracted to his wife anymore. That was the problem. Now, he wasn't out cheating on his wife, so get that out of your head. It's not part of the equation. But he was looking at pornography. So that's the way he was dealing with things. He would get his gratification by looking at pornography, and the wife didn't like that at all. And I often ask couples when I hear things like that, I said, do you ever want to, share in the pornography with your partner? Generally, it's husbands who are looking at pornography. And I say to the wife, you ever want to, join him, see if that would put a spark back into, your love making and maybe bring it back up to a place where you can enjoy it again. And some wives will say, yeah, I'll do it. And other wives will say, no. She said, if I go there, that would be, it would affect me negatively and I wouldn't want to have anything to do with them, right? And so we have to accommodate what works for the couple, right? And when people are not enjoying one another, I look into that and ask them about that and ask them why it is, what's happening. And this one gentleman, I said, look, it's not about your satisfaction in this case. He said he loved his wife dearly. She was his best friend, right? He was a person he liked to come home to and talk with and share his day and hear about her day and etc., right? They were both working professionals, right? So my best friend. But I just don't seem to be interested in her, in a physical way. And I said, well, why don't you think of it this way? It's not about your gratification. It's about hers. Why do you think of ways that you can please her that doesn't necessarily have to be, coupling? There are many other things you can do. And if you keep her happy, maybe you could increase the spark in your relationship again, right? But change the focus. Don't think of selfish. Think of, this is my best friend. I want her happy. They say happy wife, happy life, right? But you really, really care for this lady. So why not think of it as doing it for her to make her happy, to satisfy her needs, because she isn't dead yet either, right? These two people in particular are not that quite old, they're probably middle 30s, right? They're not over the hill by any means. So he thought about it. I don't know if I convinced him or not, but that was my suggestion, to think of the other person. And I know if you've ever studied anything about sex therapy, they talk about that very thing. Think about pleasing your partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be by coupling. There are other things you can do. And it sparks an interest. It gets the relationship going again. But you have to sort of set that up. You can't just spring it on someone. You have to sit down, you have to talk about it, preferably, like over coffee in a non-intimate situation at a time where you can just talk about issues. And that seems to be a real problem for folks. They can't talk about sex, and it just kills me. So sometimes that might be the value of having a couples counselor, is for the counselor to bring it up. And he can say, I didn't say it, she did it, right? Blame the other person, bring it up, and have that subject explored, discuss it. What does one partner like? What does the other partner like? What are each of you willing to do in order to please your partner? And I would hope you'd be willing to do a whole lot of stuff. Don't read that the wrong way. I just want her happy. I want him happy. And he's going to be happy if he makes her happy. That's what I'm thinking. Women are the heart of a family. They just are. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. We've lost a lot in this culture. We've just sort of destroyed all the important things, right? The things that really matter in life. At least I think so. And I wonder about the younger generations, what their relationships are going to be like going forward into the future. I wish everyone success. In fact, I'm a hopeless romantic. I want everybody happy. I really do. Like to hear people work out their differences and find a way that not only satisfies, but intrigues, enlightens, and just turns on the love lamp in couples and relationships. That's what I'd like to see. So, my question right here to you, particularly to you ladies, because husbands seem reluctant to bring it up, right? They think if they say anything, their wife is going to think he's a dirty pervert, right? And all he is doing is being human. And human beings are sexual creatures. We just are. So, ladies, how do we address this? How would you want your partner to mention the idea that they wanted to be close and intimate with you? How does that get done? How do we take the embarrassment out of talking about sex and talking about the need for sex or the desire for certain sexual practices? How do we do that? I'd really like to get your comments on this one because I can use your ideas with the people I talk to. And, I learn a lot more from the people I talk with and the books and the theories that I've studied in life. The practical advice of people who are living it is really where we find the solutions and answers to problems in relationships. So please, the trouble with intimacy is you have to ask for it. So how do we do that? Ladies, share your secrets. Gentlemen, if you have any ideas about how to get it done, let us know. How do we ask for intimacy? Thank you for stopping by. I look forward to talking with you next time.